But I think my focus is strictly a side hustle. Is there going to be a day where my wife and I look at each other and say, okay, it's time? I'm sure there is. But back to your point, it's going to be that day where I can do so much more. I can impact so many other people than what I'm doing right now if I had more time, right? And
Hello, everybody. It's Jake Stenziano, host of Wheelbarrow Props Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, I'm doing really good right now. How are you?
Good. No video for you today, but we're pulling it through, making it happen on the hot spot, so we're doing big things.
I'm doing that because I don't want to scare the people this morning, because if they saw me this morning, I'm a little annoyed this morning. I had a nice background going on, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you say making it happen, this is what you have to do, right? You commit, then you figure it out, and then you keep figuring it out, and you're always winging it. And if you're not always winging it, that means you're retired and you're not doing anything. So just keep committing and figuring it out, my friends.
We are here, big dog, and we got another guest from Florida with his video on. So for the YouTube folks, we're doing something. Today's guest is Jay Helms. He is the founder of W2 Capitalist. Jay has been climbing the corporate ladder since 2001. He started actively investing in real estate in 2014 and currently holds a portfolio of 49 units. His big goal is to build 300 years of generational wealth for him and his family. So, Gino, we're going to find out about assets today, I have a feeling. So I'm pretty excited about this. So without further ado, Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. I got an update on those numbers. So we're now up to 323.
So I pulled from your website, I did my due diligence, man. And that just shows the phenomenal growth. And so let's hear about that a little bit.
Phenomenal growth or lack of updating my own stuff.
Hey, what's more important? Building a large, robust real estate portfolio or having an updated website? I take the assets over the website personally.
I would too. Yeah, great point. Great point.
So give us a little background how you got started and tell us a little bit about that growth.
Yeah, so like probably most everybody, especially now that I'm married, got the bug with HGTV flipping shows, but we quickly figured out, hey, that's not for us, right? But we did buy some single family. We stumbled into, hey, let's buy rental properties. We really like the idea of cash flow. Totally went into this whole real estate investing thing with the financial freedom mindset, right? A lot of people, if you start researching and looking up real estate investing, you focus on this financial freedom mindset. And I wouldn't say quickly, over a couple of years, I discovered, okay, it's not that I want to escape from the W-2 world. I really like what I do, right? But I do want to have multiple streams of income. And that was kind of the focus. And that's where we are today, right? So we invested, we bought probably 4 or 5. And I was starting I have done a very poor job of keeping up with this in the last 6 months or so.
You've been busy, man. You've been buying deals. It's good.
So I actually I penciled it out on a piece of paper about 10 minutes before because I thought we might talk about some of this stuff. But we basically, we started with single families. We started seeing some really good cash flow from those. And then I had a friend of mine approach me, or actually we met on Bigger Pockets and said, hey, let's talk about multifamily, right? And we did our first multifamily deal, which was 42 units. A couple years ago, where I'm a general partner on that one. And then last year we started selling off, in continuation of this year, we started selling off our single families because the market here in Pensacola and Mobile, where we've been investing, was really hot. We saw some really incredible returns. And then we've turned around and flipped those into, not really necessarily reinvested that money into these larger deals, apartment complexes where I'm a limited partner on.
So give me an idea of some of the financial freedom mindset that you learned. What did you learn from that mindset of becoming financially free?
Yeah. So I posted this the other day in our Facebook group, and it wasn't a popular opinion, I don't think, but that's okay.
We'll probably like it, so don't worry.
Yeah. But I think, most folks, and I went to a couple of conferences that focuses on this financial freedom mindset, and everybody there that I talked to, it was really focused on themselves, right? I want to get financially free. and that's it, right? I don't want to have to go to a W-2 corporate world job every day of my life. And I get that. But the post that I made was, I think being financially free with that mindset is extremely selfish, right? Because if you are smart enough to do that, and have that initiative, you should be able to spread that wealth of knowledge with other people. So what I figured out over the last couple of years is that, we started doing the real estate investing thing because I hated my job or where I was working at the time. Transitioned 6 years today, completely different story. But part of that is I did change jobs. The other part of that is I wasn't so dependent on just my W-2 to provide my family income, right? So what I figured out was along the way was that my focus wasn't necessarily on liking or hating my job. My focus was on removing that financial burden or spreading it across, right? So like Robert Kiyosaki talks about multiple streams of income. That's what real estate did for us, right? So as we started having success in the real estate investing world, those stresses and burdens that came over me financially, of trying to figure out, okay, how am I gonna do this? How we want to take this trip? We want to make sure our kids are in the best school district, blah, blah, blah. It really, that whole financial burden started being lifted off of saying, okay, you don't have to be so stressed out at work, because now a lot of that financial uh, stress is relieved because you have these multiple flows of income, right?
So, Jay, I think what you need to ask in your group is, why do you want to become financially free? I think most people don't understand. And, when I was younger, I wanted to become, everyone says you want to retire. Jake and
Yeah.
Gino was created because I became financially free, and I'm able to help dozens and dozens of students leave their corporate job,
Yeah.
just get additional passive income, create wealth, do something they thought that they always wanted to do. So I think people first have to stop and understand why you want to become financially free. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not because you want to retire. It's because you want to continue to find what your sole purpose is and why you are here on earth. And ultimately, it's to serve others and to help others. And the true irony of the whole thing is, once you become financially free, that's when you start really making money, which is really
Yep.
weird, because you're helping others. And the more people you help, the more problems you solve, the more money you make. And ironically enough, again, it's a lot of fun. So could you imagine making money and having fun? The majority of the people on this planet can't put those two together. They're like mutually exclusive. I
Yep.
can't have fun making money. Well, once you're able to satisfy your needs with your bills, then it's like, okay. And the other thing I find when you become financially free, you don't need to buy all those toys, because it's not about buying those toys. The best thing about being financially free is you can buy the toys. You can stroke the check. That makes you feel great, but you don't need it. As Rick Sapio says, simplify.
Yeah.
One house, a couple of cars, if you want to have one or two toys. But that's a true, I guess, true wealth in life is relationships, being able to get on a podcast with you today, because Jake and I can. I mean, that's what I think financial freedom is. You want to expand on that a little bit, what your thoughts are? Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I didn't know if you were talking about me or Jake. So no, and
We're here for you today, bro. It's all about you. I could go on for hours on this stuff, but they've heard me before. It's about you today.
But I'll tell you what, when you did that intro, I was like, holy crap, I didn't drink enough coffee here. So
come on, man.
So quick story. I first heard you guys on your Bigger Pockets, your very first podcast on Bigger Pockets, and I'm like, if this is what it takes to be a real estate investor, you got to be able to talk this fast. There's no way in hell I'm making it. But good news is
that's just genetics, man. Don't worry about that.
You
and
can
being
be
a New
slow
Yorker
talking from Alabama, and you can still make it, right? So, but no, you're exactly right. And I want to touch on another point is, the circle that you keep, right, or the circle that I keep. So when I referenced the conferences that I went to, the people that I was around were focused on themselves, right? And I didn't keep up with them because I was like, okay, this is not the group of folks that I want to be around. I'm curious now if they've had that enlightening moment like I have and you have, and saying, okay, it is about financial freedom, but it's not because I want to do things just for me, right? There is a bigger picture. And it does come back to understanding what your purpose here on earth is, right? And what you think you should be doing with your life. I didn't have a clue until we were about 6 months pregnant with our first kid. boy, did that start slapping me in the face.
Mhm.
Hey, here's, everybody tries, and when you start having kids, everybody tries to warn you and tell you, but there's not words that can describe those emotions and feelings coming over you when you start having kids. And it just changed my whole perspective of here's what I need to be focusing on. Right. So you're absolutely correct. When you have that enlightening moment, hey, financial freedom is not just about me, but it allows me to do other things. You can do some amazing stuff. Right.
Perspective and purpose. Keep in mind.
Yes,
I'm sure your purpose probably in life changed, when the little one came out as well.
absolutely. Now we're in zone defense with all three of them. And I want to stop,
I
but
think
she
you mean.
doesn't. So
I think you mean I think you're in prevent defense. Because you can still attack a little bit in the zone. I think you're playing prevent right now.
I
Just
think
trying to
you're
hold the
right.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Jake likes to say education times action equals results. I took massive action in the very beginning. I didn't get educated. Where would you tell the listeners if they want to get into multifamily, where should they start getting their education?
So obviously, I will definitely plug you guys. I've learned a lot from you, not only from you, but your students who've been through some of your programs.
Oh, that's the highest compliment. We weren't like that wasn't a leading question either, but thank you.
No, you know what I like about the show is I was expecting, because I don't do this either on my podcast. I don't do any prep work. You talked about winging it earlier. When I record my podcast, it's like, hey, we're just sitting down and having a conversation. You guys hit no questions or anything like that, so I love it. Yeah, it was not a. It was a pretty good alley-oop for me to slam it. No, I'm serious. I mean, you guys have a wealth of knowledge. You have so many more doors than I have right now, right? And that's the thing is when people are looking to get into multifamily, you don't want to make the mistake of talking necessarily directly to a single family, someone who's focused on single family or flipping, right? You want to surround yourself with people who are a little bit further down the racetrack than you are. And you guys are it, right? I tap into y'all's resources all the time. And I am super bummed that I didn't make it to the multifamily mastery in Orlando. But
Talk about energy, man. There was some energy at that event. That's for sure.
I heard.
Man.
Yeah, that was. I know I missed out because when I saw all the people that I'm friends with on Facebook posting pictures when they got back, I was like, "Yep, should have made it." But
We're learning and evolving,
right.
and we're taking it into the event space. It's a good time.
But no, I would recommend that, and obviously Bigger Pockets is a good resource too. Hats off to those guys for being around. I've made a lot of connections on there. But yeah, just consume, right? But eventually you've got to have the courage to take some action, right? I don't know that a lot of people are like you, Gino, who just took action. Most people that I'm around or talk to, they are scared to take action.
Our employees are afraid of Gino because he'll put an email together and say, send it. And they say, well, I haven't read it yet. I haven't proofread it. And they start freaking out on him. He's like, just go.
Well, Jay, it's real easy for me. I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago with a guy named Ray and his wife, Christina. And he said 2 words to me that got him going. And for me, it was really enlightening. And I was a little bit older. I was like my late 30s. I said, I could be doing so much more in my life. And he said, desperation, inspiration, and then I put the word perspiration in there because you need all 3 of those. That's another trinity that I like to say because I was desperate. I really wanted to do something. So I think if somebody's in their early 20s, they're not really desperate yet. Really, they're searching around. Somebody in his mid to late 30s, they are like, okay, there's got to be more to life than just going and doing a paycheck. That's why I like millennials. I think millennials are great. They look at a job as something different, as a calling to be part of something. Whereas my generation and maybe older ones saw work as a means to an end. I have to go work. I got to punch in, punch out. I've got 7 years till I retire. That's not really a good way to look at an occupation or a job, right? So I think that desperation, number 1, inspiration, number 2, and number 3, the perspiration. Don't overlook it. It's not a 4-hour work week. I am not looking to do a 4-hour work week. I don't want that. I don't think anyone who's been, motivated and inspired and likes what they're doing wants to do that. If you do, hats off to you. Try to figure that one out. But I don't want to because it's really ironic, Jay. When you get to be good at something, all of a sudden you get more work on your plate and you learn more and you figure out the marketing and you do events and you do podcasts and you write books and all this stuff gets to be so much more fun and forget about making money. And then it's like, who wants to work 4 hours a week? I want to work 4 hours in the morning before lunch.
And I guarantee the author is producing like a madman and doing more than 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would drive
So-
myself bonkers trying to work
Yeah.
just 4 hours a week. There's no way in hell that would happen for me.
So Jay, what are your goals going forward? Do you want to leave your corporate job and do this full time, or what are you looking to do going forward?
Yeah, it's a side hustle for me, and the reason why, and this ties back to the selfishness of that, or the selfishness comment I made earlier, is yesterday I had the opportunity to, so I coach a sales team in the cybersecurity space. And yesterday we're doing, the team we've got together right now is doing some amazing stuff. They're hitting goals they've never been challenged with before. So it's pretty incredible. So yesterday, our Monday afternoon huddle meeting, which we usually go over numbers, and it's, hey, let's focus on this for the week. I just kind of sat back, and it was a conversation that stemmed from last week saying, how many of you actually know what your net worth is? How many of you actually know how to calculate your net worth? So I've got 9 people on my team, and only one person has done it before. And I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do in our Monday afternoon huddle. I'm going to show you the spreadsheet that I use. I'm going to introduce you to Mint and Personal Capital and all these other automated tools, but I'm going to show you the manual process that I go through just because I'm old school. We went through that, and I was like, I wish I had somebody telling me this at your age, right? Because most of them are millennials, of the millennial generation. And I think it kind of went over. I mean, I didn't get the response I wanted to, but I know I planted some seeds, right? And I think in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, as I have my one-on-one conversations with them and start digging in, I can show them, okay, here's exactly why this is important, right? Just be thinking about it now, right? But maybe you're not going to get, and I referenced the millionaire next door. There's a couple of different categories they have in that book that references where you should be at your life based on your salary and whatnot. So I think it was very eye-opening, but it was almost, I didn't get the response that I was hoping. So what you got
to take it a step back and get him on The Richest Man in Babylon first. Then you can go to The Millionaire Next Door. You leapfrogged a little bit.
I did. I have not consumed The Richest Man in Babylon in its entirety. I've got to do that. Yeah. But, I kind of sit back, Gino, to your question and say, okay, there's such a big opportunity to impact this group of folks, right? Not only that, but there are some things in the W-2 world that I want to continue to do, right? But I think my focus is strictly a side hustle. Is there going to be a day where my wife and I look at each other and say, okay, it's time? I'm sure there is. But back to your point, it's going to be that day where I can do so much more. I can impact so many other people than what I'm doing right now if I had more time, right? And where I'm going to get that time is from the W-2 job. But that's years down the road.
So Jay, I've got a book recommendation for you. I just finished reading it. The book is called Pitch Anything. What you need to do is you need to elicit their croc brain. Right now, you're on your neocortex, and you're going to their neocortex. You need to make it an emotional thing. You need to make a storyline about it, because right now they've got their guard up going, what the heck is a net worth sheet? You hit them with too much. Jake probably has heard this. I've heard pharmaceutical reps go into a doctor's office, and you're not supposed to show up and throw up. That's basically what you showed up and you threw up on them. Net worth and schedule real estate owned. They're probably overwhelmed and going, oh, what's this guy talking about? I think you drip feed it. Like Jake said, that richest man, when you talk about Arcad and the shield maker, and he goes out and get jewels and that those kinds of stories. I think if you hit them slowly with that and just let them consume that and get the emotions and go, well, you know what? I want a little bit more, instead of just throwing out a net worth sheet, something they've never seen before. And the other thing is, once they start filling it out, they probably feel really bad because they're like, wow, my balance sheet is not looking good. That's the other thing. So they're going to shut down completely, right?
Sorry, I was trying to clear my cough. You're exactly correct. And I even heard a couple of them talking, last week, like, I bet my net worth is negative, right? Because a lot of them just got out of college, and but what I was able to tell them is like, look, guys, 7 years ago, I think it was 6 years ago when I started this process, my net worth was negative as well. But this was a wake-up call for me, right? And I had so much debt, cars, student loans, and through real estate investing. And I didn't pitch real estate investing, right? But I wanted to show them that, hey, once I get started investing in real estate, now we timed the market pretty good with some of our stuff. It exponentially grew it, right? And I'm talking exponentially. And really it just helped me understand where my money was going and why I should stop spending it the way I was spending it. I've heard of pitch anything. I've actually consumed it before, but I think it's just great. Something for me to revisit for sure.
I'm actually going through it. I read it a couple times and I'm taking notes. That's how I learn. So if I can read the book once in a week, I won't retain that much of it. The clone of learning is actually, you know, you read it, you take notes and all. And I love that book because it talks about frames and it talks about how you know, let people, and it's a great book for anyone trying to raise money, because when we're multifamily investors, we want to go out there and start talking about pref rates and start talking about co-promotes and start talking about waterfalls to somebody who's never even heard of multifamily. So there's no way you're going to elicit a response from them positive. So just to be able to frame that conversation to make them understand it and really, you know, put emotion in there, put some stories in there and let them try to relate to them. How is it going to help them, right? It's always what's in it for me. Right. That's what we think of. And then maybe people are thinking that, well, why is he giving me this net worksheet? But it's important. And just tell them, hey, listen, you know, definition of an entrepreneur from Rick Sapio is anyone that takes responsibility. So you tell them if they're starting to do this from the very beginning, they're going to become entrepreneurs because they're taking responsibility of their finances. And that's really powerful. So I would also, you know, give them that bit of advice also.
I love it. I love that I'm walking away from this podcast and having 2 pieces of homework so far. So
we're only halfway through, bro. You're gonna get 4 or 5
I know. Like, man.
No, because Jake is always telling me, I challenge you. So I like to challenge people because you know why? That's how we grow, right? And I'm expecting some homework from you by the end of this.
You're right. And that is one thing I do like to challenge the group that works for me on a daily basis, on a weekly basis for different stuff. So, and it's all about growth, right? It's one of those things where, and that's what I love about the job I'm in. I've only been there for about 6 months, 7 months. But there's such a huge opportunity to help these folks grow. And it's one of these things where I look back at times and think, am I really getting paid to do this? You know, because it's really rewarding. Now it does come with frustrations, right? I mean, any job does, but the rewards heavily outweigh the frustrations.
So can you talk a little bit about the culture of the company? Because Jake loves to talk about the 3 things we talk about: people, systems, and culture. It sounds like they have an amazing culture there and you gravitated towards it. So would you mind touching on that real quick?
Yeah, no, the culture there can be summed up with one word. And it was something that the founders of the company 10 years ago strived to keep. Now they've sold off their portions, right, in a couple rounds of their exit strategy in the last couple of years, but the culture is still there and it's phenomenal, right? And it is extremely, if anything, I'm a disruptor to that. So I'm learning and I'm being taught by very patient folks. But it is, you know, it's not necessarily, what's the phrase, treat others the way you want to be treated. Treat others the way they want to be treated is the focus there. So it's extremely it really is phenomenal. I mean, it's just incredible. I've never worked anywhere like this where most everyone is transparent, extremely transparent. You can just have a very authentic, real conversation. It's just, you know, it was kind of funny because because I had worked from home for 10 years, right? So a lot happened in this last 6 months for us. We not only just on the real estate investing side, but we had kid number 3. I changed jobs that I'd been at for 15 years. 10 of those 15, I've been working from home into an office setting and managing a team of people. I had no idea who they were. So it has been a transition for us personally, but the people there have made it a lot easier because everybody's willing to help out. While we push numbers and sales and growth, my main focus, and I'm pretty sure this is what got the job for me, is that when I was being interviewed, I told the hiring manager, I said, look, I want to come to help people grow, right? Now, I'm not the most senior person in this room when I was being interviewed. I said, but I'm a little bit further down the road than I imagine your average salesperson, and I got some things I can teach them. Right. I want to make sure they're growing. I want to make sure they're doing the things. I don't want them to be stuck in a job they absolutely hate. Um, and that's pretty much the culture, right? It is extremely, extremely phenomenal.
That's awesome. Can you give the listeners a couple tips on how you've been able to expand your portfolio while working full time, while having 3 children? Because everyone's going to say, Jay can do it, Jake and Gino can do it, but I can't do it.
Yeah. So the biggest, let me think, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is, so here's a homework lesson for those of you listening. The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, life-changing for me. His book allowed me to create and prioritize my, basically how I do my day, right? So a combination of between that, the one thing and the 12-week year, if you can get a hybrid of those systems, but it all starts with the Miracle Morning. And so to summarize that real quick, basically I get up at 4:45 every morning. So I have 2.5 hours where I can focus on real estate stuff before the rest of the house is awake or before I have to get ready to go to work. So number one, I didn't start out by saying, okay, I'm going to flip the switch and I'm not start getting up at 4:45 in the morning. It didn't happen like that. I tried it. I failed miserably, but it was an exercise. It was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I want to get up. My target is 4:45. I usually get up at 7. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to set my alarm for 6:45. I'm also going to go to bed 15 minutes earlier. And one of the cool things I love about the iPhone is it actually has a bedtime alarm, because as Jake and I were talking about earlier, we can stay up and watch some football, or we can just go fall asleep. He and I were talking about we don't catch a whole lot of football, as much football as we want to now. But it's one of those things where if I don't have that reminder saying, okay, now it's time to go to bed, then I'll sit up and watch, right? But it's about getting up early, right? So I did this it took me about 3 months to get to that 4:45 time frame. And now most mornings, I'll get up before the alarm. So it's really about getting your focus, right? What's the most important thing? This goes back to the one thing. What's your most important thing that you need to get done that day so that the rest of your day is less important? When I focus on real estate for the first couple of hours of my day, usually uninterrupted, that just puts my mindset in a totally different spot, right? So when I get to work, I've already been up for a couple of hours. I'm ready to get the sales folks jazzed up for an awesome day. And it just puts me in a different mindset. The days where I sleep in and I don't do this, I struggle. And the team knows it. My sales team knows it too. But that is the biggest thing is knowing that, I get up and I'm sticking to the point, but I want to make sure it's clear. You can do this, right? If I go to bed at 9 o'clock and I get up at 4:45, I'm still getting enough sleep, that 6 to 8 hours. And then when I get home from work, I'm pretty exhausted, but all I got to do is focus on being there for the kids, being there for the family, doing whatever we're doing, going to soccer practice, sitting down, just watching a movie, having dinner together, any of those things. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be exhausted anyway. I would rather just lay around on the floor and wrestle with the kids than try to figure out how do I analyze this rental property, right? So that's the biggest thing is shifting that focus, and shifting that mindset to say, I'm going to get up first thing in the morning. I'm going to do something I'm truly passionate about. The rest of the day is just amazing.
I like that. Let's talk about your first deal real quick. How did you find the deal? And as far as the deal itself, what made you think it was a great deal?
And are you talking about
The 42
my very first deal?
No, the larger one, the 42 unit you said you
42
did?
unit?
Yeah.
So we found this deal. It was off market. Let me turn it back time here. So it was off market with, we got introduced, I guess, let me back up. So through Bigger Pockets, essentially. There was a broker that I was working, a realtor on there that I was working with, to try to find some deals here in Pensacola. At the same time, Tim Kelly, who's a partner of mine on that deal, he was messaging the same realtor. Tim and I didn't know each other at the same point in time. That realtor had enough about him, said, hey, you guys sound like you're having the same conversation. I'd love to introduce you. Let's go have some Mexican, right? So we did. We started looking around Pensacola. Pensacola is pretty hot as far as pricing and returns and whatnot, or low returns, things that we couldn't see. And then, so we started branching out. So in here, you either go east to Panama City or west to Pensacola, west to Mobile. So we started looking at Mobile, and that same realtor said, look, I don't know enough about that market. Let me introduce you to a guy that I know does commercial real estate in that area. He introduced us a couple of weeks later. He introduced us this deal to us, and Tim and I were hooked. Right. So the numbers on it we knew it was a huge overhaul. So what we really loved about this deal was it was self-managed by a elderly gentleman. He was in his mid 70s. He was living at the property most of the week, and he was also the handyman. So I don't know if you guys can imagine in your mid 70s trying to take care of a 42 unit. You're the leasing agent, you're the handyman, everything. You can imagine that property was in pretty disrepair, right? One of the things, when we secret shopped it one day, we pulled up to the leasing office that's on premise, and there was a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that was tacked to the leasing office door. It says, for rental information, call, and it was just handwritten in cursive and had a phone number on it. But it was just a huge opportunity to it had a lot of value add to it. So if you can imagine, the owner was just as tired as the property, right? He was ready to be done. So we talked to him quite a while. We tried to get him to do some seller financing. I still haven't found one of those unicorns that everybody brags about, but we eventually came to a deal, put it under Tim and I put it under contract, and then we went out and started raising money from friends and family.
That's
Most
awesome.
of it came through our local RIA. Huge advantage of being in one of those groups, right?
So before we get to the short answers, just give me a couple tips or lessons that you learned about picking a partner, because it's really important. A lot of people hit Jake and I up about how do you choose a partner? How do you know if you're right? How did you and Tim click, and what were you looking for in a partner?
I don't know that I was necessarily looking for a partner. There was probably times where Tim felt like he was pulling and pushing and screaming to get me to come along with him. And I think that goes to our different personalities. And what I finally learned is that you need a partner who offsets your weaknesses, right? And what I love about you guys is, Jake, you talk extremely fast. I have a hard time listening or catching up. I don't know that I listen that fast, but Gino, you're more of my speed, right? And so I can see the same thing with Tim and I, is that he's the yin, I'm the yang, or whatever, how that goes. But it's one of those things where I started to get to know Tim. We knew each other. We spent a lot of time together for the first 6 months before we put this deal together. So I got to know him, right? He's a chief petty officer in the Navy, has a wife that he loves to death, adores. So, I knew where he was coming from. So it's somebody that I fully trust, right? Funny thing, later this afternoon, Tim and I are going to do an Ask Me Anything episode on our podcast, which is usually one of our more favorite segments in our Facebook group. But yeah, so it was mainly, to answer your question, it was mainly finding, I found somebody who's going to push me, but also fill those gaps that I don't necessarily have. And he's a very, very outgoing guy. He's not afraid to go up and ask anybody for money. I'm more of a, hey, let's analyze this. I'm more of the introvert side. Let's analyze this. Let's look into the deal. be a little bit more conservative than most people, and Tim's out there just pushing the edge the entire time. So
Sounds like you have good moral compass, and both of you guys have good values going too, which is very important. So,
yeah, absolutely, especially in this business, right?
Gotta have it. Yep.
Yep.
All right, gang, let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor. Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created. Buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply. All right, we are back. Here we go. We talked about habits earlier. We talked about the miracle morning. Is there any other habit that you want to share with the listeners? I always like to dive into folks' habits. I know you're getting up early. You're doing your real estate. Anything else that you do on a weekly basis that you want to share with folks?
So on a daily basis, when I get up, I'm still, I think I probably said 4:45 15 times earlier. But the big thing is I get up, I chug a glass of water. Because I realized the last time I had something to drink was probably 8 or 9 hours ago. Your body's a little dehydrated, right? So get up, chug some water, and then do a quick workout routine. It might be jogging a mile or just spending 15 minutes doing some kind of yoga or something like that. The purpose of that is to get my body awake, get my mind awake, get the blood flowing. And then some days, not every day, I'll do a 10-minute meditation session. I started meditating probably a year and a half ago. Didn't understand what it was. Thought, hey, this is quirky. This is so frou-frou, And I'm like, but if I can do yoga, I can meditate. I can exercise my brain a little bit. It has been an amazing, again, game changer for me. But those three things, as long as I get up, chug some water, do a little workout, and do some meditation, puts me in a completely different spot. If I don't do that, if I break that habit, almost everybody can tell.
Give us a tip for scaling a real estate business.
Partners, man, relationships. Yeah, you got it. A lot of folks will think that they don't have the money or the resources to do it, but I promise you, somebody who does. But you've got to build that relationship. You've got to have that same moral compass as them, and you've got to develop that trust for them to be able to partner with. But partners and relationships. If I look back at every deal that we've ever done, it's because we had a relationship with that person before going into it.
Give us a mistake when starting out, or a time that you were stung, and how you handled that.
Mistake probably for me, and I haven't done this in quite a while, but don't get emotional about a deal. I don't buy Craftsman single family homes because I love the look of those homes. So when I look at something that has a Craftsman style look, I'll get emotional about it and think how cool I can make it look. And I just want to revitalize it and give it, to some family. That's pretty much what we end up doing, is revitalizing it and giving it away. But, I don't typically go and visit properties until after we're under contract. That helps me keep the emotions out of it as well. Right.
Nice.
So it's all about the number.
Garden yourself. That's good.
Yeah. I know my weakness, right? So
you threw some books out there. Any other books that you want to recommend to the folks?
I'll recommend The Go-Giver. It's one of those things I revisit every year this time of year. Of course, we're right here, a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving, and it's just a reminder of something you were saying earlier, Gino, about the more people you help, the more wealthy you become. So it's one of those books. It's a quick read. You can probably knock it out in a couple of hours. And I can't remember the name of the author for some reason, but it's sitting over there.
Bob Berg. Have you read
Thank
the
you, yeah.
Have you read the Honeybee yet?
I have not.
If you like The Go-Giver, you're gonna love the Honeybee. Okay.
Who wrote the Honeybee?
This guy named the G-Dad. No, I'm serious though. It's
Yeah.
no.
It is on my list for sure.
What project are you excited about right now?
So it's a great question. And my pause there is because we went into this year thinking, okay, the market's really hot. We're not going to do anything. We're going to sit back and we're just going to hold on to our cash and see what happens. Okay. So in January this year, we had 49 units and now we're up to 323. So I'm looking at, I guess my project is I'm taking the next month and a half and really trying to focus on what we want to look at in 2020. Because we didn't go according to plan this year, but it has worked out for the better. Right. And again, back to those relationships, all these, there's been two other, real big syndications that we've invested in. It came through partnerships and relationships that people I've known for 6 months to a year. And we're still, we've got, I wouldn't say a pile of cash, but I guess it's a pile of cash, anything, that we're sitting on, and we're trying to wait and see kind of what happens. I'm a little concerned about where the market's going. If I look at my crystal ball like everybody else does, we've been on a pretty good run. Next year being an election year, who knows what's going to happen after that. So the project that I'm really focused on right now is as I'm grasping for an answer. No, really in the next month and a half, I want to really focus on, okay, what do we want to focus on for 2020? I'm leaning toward growing the W2 Capitalist group because that has helped so many people so far. But I want to do it at a more, right now it's just been a ready, fire, aim approach. And I want to have a little bit more strategy for that next year.
I have a prediction. I have a crystal ball. And
Okay.
my crystal ball is Gino. I give him, this is two predictions. I give him 1 year before he quits his W-2 job. and the podcast is going to be called The Former W-2 Capitalist. That's all I'm saying about that.
That's a lot of homework there, Jake. I only get
Yeah, it is a lot of homework. 1 year, huh? I'll take the over on that.
So what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
So I'm at w2capitalist.com. We've got links to our...
Not the former W2 Capitalist, just the w2capitalist.com. Right. Got it.
I like that. 1 year. But yeah, that's the landing page, and my email is just j@w2capitalist.com.
Very cool. G-Dad, what else you got?
I think it's really cool that somebody can have a job they like and not be forced into saying, I want to quit my job. I want to become the former W-2 capitalist. Because most people come at it by saying they wait too long, right? And that's not empowering in life. At least Jay has a lot of opportunities, a lot of options. He still likes his job. Jake and I, we didn't like our jobs. And we were, I don't want to say forced, but we didn't have the ability to have an empowering decision. We just we want to do this. And sometimes desperation works really well. You don't want to work from that mode, right? You want to be able to say to yourself, I can leave if I want to, but I like what I'm doing. And having that option is so cool in life. I didn't have that option. I think it's, if you think about it, just focus on your why and, follow one course until successful. That's what focus stands for. And I think you really need to focus on that. Focus on why you want to become financially free. You don't have to quit it. Real estate can be a little bit of creating a little passive income, starting small and adding, like Jay said, little multiple streams and adding that passive income. And it's a great retirement hedge. It's a great hedge against inflation. It's a great hedge for taxes. So starting out, and then if you really like it, then you can say to yourself, yeah, I can scale this up and go into business and start partnering with other people, but you don't have to do it all at once. It takes time. I think that, Jake, what people don't understand is it's a long game. Like anything else, becoming really good at something is not going to happen overnight. Some people say 10,000 hours. That book from Pitch Anything, Oren Klaff, he kept saying, I did 10,000 hours of this training. I don't think you need 10,000 hours in real estate, but you're going to need a couple of years of education. So if you're deciding to do it, start now, because right now the market's hot. The market's not going to be hot in 2 years. Never a better time to start than now, and start creating those relationships and start getting into the market, start learning the brokers, start understanding what the valuations are on your market. So when the market does tank, you at least know that it tanked, and you at least have those substantive relationships, and you at least have the capital and the ability to understand what the market, what's going on in the market. So now is a great time to start.
Start now, make it happen. Jay, thank you for your time, and long live the former W2 capitalist. Guys, we'll see you later.
Bye,
Take
everybody.
it easy.